All right, thank you for joining us for the Tallwave High Tide Healthcare IT informational webinar. We're very pleased to have the amount of interest that we've had so far, and eager to get everyone into the application process. So for today, we wanted to give you a little bit of background information on the program itself and answer any of your questions. My name is Dan Roberts. I'm the Director of Business Development and Venture Screening here at Tallwave. Tallwave is the company behind the High Tide program. Also with me, I've also got my colleague Jesse Randall, our Director of Operations. Jesse, feel free to say hi.
Hey everybody, great to be here.
And so we'll jump right into things. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send it to us via the Ask a Question box there on your screen. Otherwise, we'll get started and we'll save the questions till the end. Healthcare, the High Tide for Healthcare IT is a program that's put on by Tallwave. I'll give a little background on Tallwave in a second, but due to some interest from some major partners that we'll go to in a minute, we have now focused the High Tide program on the particular vertical of healthcare technologies. So a little bit of background on Tallwave itself. Tallwave is the largest digital venture development and venture management firm in the state of Arizona, and we've been around for about 3.5 years. In that time, we've grown to about 24 people and 4 portfolio companies. So there's a couple different programs within Tallwave. We'll focus on High Tide today. High Tide falls under our Venture Services group, where the bulk of the activity happens at Tallwave. Also in Venture Services is a program called Venture Development that is really more intended for companies that have raised some seed or Series A level capital, or they're already in market generating revenue. That program it combines deploying operators into the business to be an extension of the team. There's some cost and equity involved with it. High Tide, no upfront cost to the companies, but an equity exchange for those that make it through the program. I mentioned the 4 portfolio companies. Those are under our venture management. About once a year, we'll have a company that wants to joint venture with Tallwave that comes out of the Venture Services group, and they enter into venture management, which from an equity perspective, Tallwave is a co-founder in those companies and takes several executive level positions, an allocation from our CFO along with a board seat, and really has Tallwave helping drive the company from a governance perspective. We spend a lot of time building our assets here, one of those assets being our capital network. In the past 4 years, we've built an extensive network of angels, angel groups, venture capital firms, private equity where it's applicable, and then lending and grant sources as well. For example, here in the state of Arizona, there's the Arizona Innovation Challenge where they give away $3 million a year to 12 deserving startups to help them move forward. In addition, this year we are introducing the Tallwave Capital Fund, or the Tallwave Commercialization Fund, which will be about an $18 million fund focused on seed rounds and leading Series A. Now this fund is going to be captive to the Tallwave ecosystem, so looking at companies coming through either venture development, venture management, or this High Tide program. And High Tide, we're building the companies up to be attractive to a capital source, one of those being the Tallwave Commercialization Fund, but we have dozens of others that are eager to see the companies that are coming out of the program. We've worked in a variety of industries, and in this particular case, we're focusing on healthcare IT as well as with the guidance of some of our major partners. Our founding team comes out of some very large companies, including Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, and our CEO and chairman, Jeff Pruitt, was part of the team that built a company here in Scottsdale called iCrossing that ended up selling to Hearst Media for just under $500 million. So with that, that's a little bit more background on Tallwave. You can always learn more at tallwave.com. But let's get right into the meat of things here with High Tide, and I will pass it off to Jesse to give a little bit more background on the program. Go ahead, Jesse.
All right, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here to be able to explain some more of the details about the program and to get everybody excited about what we're doing here. As a quick background, I am the Director of Operations here at Tallwave. I've been here for a couple of years now, and originally helped to be able to put through the first high tide and helped to redesign this one and able to deploy it with the rest of the Tall Wave team. So to give you some quick high-level numbers, looking through this, we've got 20 companies that are going to go through this high tide for healthcare IT. The cost of the program is around $500,000. It's being sponsored by the Tall Wave Capital Fund. There's going to be approximately 25 people working in and out of the program in all aspects, interacting with those 20 companies that are selected. And between those 25 people, they're going to deploy about 8,000 man-hours to working alongside your company to achieve milestones, show progress, and to get you ready to go and pitch to a very curated network of capital investors at the end of this. Now, along the way, we've got at least 4 partners, 4 major ones. They're between Mayo Clinic, IBM, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and many others that are partnering with us to complete this and to help us achieve this vision. And the capital network at the end is going to have a solid 20-plus healthcare-focused VCs. They're going to be waiting to screen and look at the materials that come out from all the companies that actually graduate from this high tide. And along the way as well, from those partners, we've got 10 subject matter experts that are going to be working very closely with the companies in a way that's somewhat different than a typical mentor that you might hear about in other programs. They're going to be much more involved and be very deeply integrated into teaching you more about the industries you're going into and providing insights, connections, and other resources for you along the way. So with that said, let's dive right in and just give you a quick program overview. Now this visual here, it might seem like there's a lot going on. I'm going to try to give you the very brief overview from the very highest level, and then we'll dive down deep in other slides around what each of these means. So starting way over there on the left, you can see the application deadline happening here. The application process is happening through September. The deadline is September 30th to get your applications in, and we're then going to go through a 3-step process to get people selected. From there, once we select 20 companies, there's going to be a variety of things that each of these participants goes through throughout the course of high tide. You can see there in that center green box that says Venture Blueprint Bootcamp. It's focused around a proprietary methodology and curriculum that we've used to teach entrepreneurs about all the different pitfalls and how they can, of starting a business, how they can mitigate those things and how to make themselves smarter to go along this path. And we're going to have a very condensed version of that going on the first month. From that, and the output of that boot camp is going to be selecting milestones that you will achieve in the following 3 months of the program until the end, which we call Move the Needle. And you'll go into one of 3 tracks, which I'll get into more in a moment. But that's all about actually building your business, showing traction, showing that you and your team can execute. Across the top there, you'll see the red box that says Marketing Competitive Landscape, GTM, which is Go-to-Market, and Financials. And the Tall Wave team is going to be working to help create these and supplement any other materials you might already have right now to be able to paint a very convincing and thorough story of what your business can do. There in the purple, you'll see the pitch training and pitch strategy, and then pitch training and deck actual creation. So there's going to be 3 full months of pitch training. It's by far the most important skill that you'll pick up as an entrepreneur in your quest to actually raise money. So I'll go more into that later. Down at the very bottom there, you've got education from subject matter experts, which is happening throughout the blueprint and then throughout the entire Move the Needle. And that's going to be where you have very intimate opportunities to interact with these big companies that are supporting high tide, to be able to be taught by the very best and to be able to create those one-to-one relationships that you can leverage throughout the cycle of getting your startup up and going. Now, if I can, at the end there, you'll see the big red box on the right-hand side is fundraising. So for those that graduate from the program, there's going to be fundraising efforts made at the end of this. Now, granted, we have to be very clear, we can't do fundraising on your behalf, but we can sure prepare you for that, and we can provide opportunities for you to go and pitch. And so we'll be doing that in a variety of ways as well. I'd also like to point out, down towards the bottom, we've got these 4 boxes that are just black outlines, and those are the 4 main events that are going to be happening in Arizona that are required from each of the 20 companies that is coming into the program. And I'll cover each of those individually later. And then probably the most important thing that you need to understand is across the top there, with the arrows pointing at them, those are the 5 hurdles that you have to pass in order to graduate from the high tide program. Unlike most other programs that once you're in, and you'll pitch at the end no matter what. We are much more competitive about that. We've worked very hard to put together our capital network, and they trust us to be able to vet and only allow companies to come through who are actually prepared for fundraising. And so there's a variety of hurdles that you have to pass as you go through this program in order to gain access to that capital network. And we'll go through each of those a little bit later. So from the highest level, this is it. It takes place over the course. The core of the program takes place over 4 months between the beginning of November and the end of February. A month on the back end for the fundraising process and the pitching, and a month on the front end for the selection of the participants who will be in the program. So moving on now, let's talk a little bit more about the Venture Blueprint. This is a program that we created to cover a variety of topics, as I mentioned before. So 16 major topics are covered. For this program in the boot camp kind of scenario that we've put together, we're going to have 8 two-hour sessions, and they're going to be split between Tallwave teaching these and having our subject matter experts come in and pipe in on very specific subjects as well. So you're going to get a lot of face time with Tallwave and a lot of face time with our partners that are coming in. And this is going to be about the types of steps that you need to take, the skills you need to acquire, and the concepts you need to understand in order to actually build your business. And the outcome of this whole thing is going to be identifying milestones that you can reasonably achieve by the end of the program so that you can show and demonstrate progress to the investment community, and it's going to give you a lot of credibility as you're standing in front of investors. So this is going to be a very intense experience going through this, but it's also going to be very insightful, and it's going to give you a ton of information as a foundation for going through the rest of the program, and a continued foundation as you continue out into the market with your company. Moving on to the next one, talking more about the subject matter expert training, and this is happening throughout the entire course of High Tide. We'll be covering some example topics to be legal, banking, HR benefits, tax and risk, as well as understanding very specific dynamics within the industry that will be covered. And the outputs of these are going to be, for you, creating a very powerful network is going to be the number one thing to keep your eye on. These are not low-level employees that they're throwing at High Tide to get some work done. These are very much heavily involved vice presidents and above who want to be included in High Tide and who have each dedicated approximately 40 to 50 hours to the program to interact directly with you and to help you further your business and increase your probability of success. So we'll be covering a lot of critical success topics and gaining real-world assistance from these subject matter experts. And again, to reemphasize, these experts are coming from the likes of IBM, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and the Mayo Clinic, among others. So next, let's talk about the go-to-market and the financials that will be created. Of course, to start this whole section off, you're going to be providing everything that you have to give us the biggest baseline possible, because the more information we have and the more we understand about you, the more that we're going to be able to achieve and discover for you. So we'll be doing a market landscape mapping. We'll be doing competitive analysis. We'll be putting together an actual go-to-market strategy, a very tactical plan of how to get your company out into market, and that depends completely on what stage you're in. If you're pre-revenue, if you're pre-prototype, it's going to be very different than if you're already in market and what it will take to get you to a point where you can scale. We're also going to work with you to put together a very organized cap table and a comprehensive fundraising story that will be complemented very strongly by a deep financial model that we'll create. And all this is going to be in collaboration with you. None of this is going to be behind closed doors. We want your interaction throughout this, but these are going to be very powerful documents that you can utilize throughout the fundraising process and also to make you even smarter about your business than you are today. So next, let's talk about the Move the Needle competition. You remember from that first slide that this is going to be rolling out from the Venture Blueprint Bootcamp. The outputs of that are going to be identifying 2 milestones that you need to achieve in order to graduate from the program. So there's 3 main tracks, depending on the stage that your company is in. The first one is going to be companies in revenue, those in prototype, and then last is the idea stage. And we don't know what the makeup of these is going to be like. We haven't set a number on how many will be in each of these. It depends on what the makeup or who's selected for the program. None of this is predetermined right now. but we will put you in with appropriate cohort that is similar to you, and you'll be chasing after goals that are very relevant for the stage that you're in. So once those are selected, you're going to have 3 months to actually go and achieve that. And we'll be deploying people to work alongside you to help you achieve these. And we very much want you to be able to utilize this as a motivation or perhaps a point to be able to make in your pitches that you do have traction, that people are reaching for what your solution is, and that you as a team can execute. Those are the big things coming out of this. Another thing, the reason that we do this is because most competitions can essentially cause you to stop building your business. You might have to move to Colorado Springs or San Francisco or somewhere else for 3 months and drop everything in your life that you're doing and just hunker down and build your initial prototype. And at the end of it, you get a big demo day, and then that's the end of your experience. And we feel that that's pretty short-sighted, that you need to continue building your entire business and not just building your product. And so that's another reason for the Move the Needle and why we place so much emphasis on it in the program. Next here, we've got the pitch training. So pitch training is something that we found in our first high tide that we did during this last year is incredibly important. You can have the most amazing product in the world and the most amazing business with the most amazing traction, and if you screw up your pitch, you might not ever get any money. And so we place enormous emphasis on this throughout the program. It's going to be going on during the entire length of the Move the Needle competition. It's going to happen over about 3 months. We've got it split into 2 sections. One is a completely strategy and education section that's just going to tell you everything you ever need to know about pitching and make you become very smart. We're going to bring in outside experts along with experts from Tallwave who have raised a lot of money to teach you best practices and make you the best pitchers in the world, so to speak. So some topics that could be covered, that we will be covering, around pitch coaching, pitch materials, what types of materials interested investors are going to want to see, being able to answer every investor question possible with confidence in regards to your specific business, storytelling, financial savviness, and being able to understand and articulate what your financials mean. And the outcomes of it really are you're going to be able to have 4 different things. First one is you're going to be able to nail an elevator pitch, which is typically 2 minutes, with no props. And you'll be able to do that upside down and backwards in your sleep, and preferably in another language, although we may or may not force you to do that. Sorry, that's a bad joke. We're only going to make you do it in English. And then 3 other outputs are going to be a 5-minute pitch with props, a 10-minute pitch with props, and then, of course, you're going to have your pitch decks to match those last 2. So pitch training is super important, and you guys are going to pitch like pros by the time you're done with High Tide. Now, finally, the culminating section of High Tide is going to be accessing the capital network. Now, we need to emphasize here that this is for graduates of the program only. We'll get into the hurdles here in just a moment, but just realize this is for those that graduate from the program. So we're going to do a variety of different things. We've got a national network put together. We want to have at least 20 or more fully committed to what we're doing inside the program and committed to actually looking at all of the graduates that come out. Right now we've got a list of over 75 VCs that we're working with now, many of whom we have strong connections with, and it continues to get better every day. So over the course of the next 4 or 5 months, we expect that to hit 25 or more, and we would hope to be able to get the majority of those companies in who have proven track records in healthcare-related investments and early-stage funding. So introductions to those networks are going to be very important by the end of this. It's going to be more than just pitching to a big room full of investors one time. We're going to take a much more personal approach to that. We're actually going to be flying all the companies out to at least 1, if not 2 locations to pitch on-site for companies or for these venture capitalists and angel networks. So likely we'll be going to Silicon Valley, and there's a possibility that we could also go to Chicago or Boston or New York or another location where there's a high density of investors. In addition to that, we'll also be facilitating introductions to any other investment group that can't make it to either of those 2 locations so that you can do virtual pitches and build those relationships with Tallwave and High Tide at your side as you do so and have more of an ongoing relationship. So it's something that we do want. It's in our best interest, along with yours, to help get you funded, and we want to increase the probability of that as much as possible. and we feel very strongly that having a more personable approach between you, High Tide, and these venture capital companies will help get you there. So a few other items to cover here. So we've got events and travel that we need to talk about real quick. There are 4 required events that each company needs to attend. So the first one is the program kickoff. It's going to be over the course of 2 days on October 25th and 26th. This is going to be paramount. We're going to be covering all details of the program, every detail you need to know about all the hurdles that you're going to have to pass, all the details about every single module in much more depth than what we've covered here. You'll be meeting all the subject matter experts. You'll be understanding who your team at Tallwave is and how you can leverage that and what you need to do to be successful and graduate from the program. It is extremely important, and it is required that companies come to that. The next one is the Move the Needle orientation, which is going to occur between the blueprint completing, venture blueprint section completing, and before the Move the Needle starts. This is when you've identified what these milestones are and actually kicking off into that and identifying plans of how you're going to achieve those milestones. And that's going to take place on December 7th. The next one doesn't happen for 2 more months. That is the Move the Needle progress pitch and a business development event. So there's going to be 2 separate events that happen when you come out for that, happening on February 5th. The Move the Needle progress pitch is really kind of a motivation point to make sure that, and to be able to demonstrate what you have been able to achieve in the first 2 months of the Move the Needle program. Prior to that, after that, we're going to be having a business development event that's being hosted by Infusionsoft. And this is where we pull together all the best business development people from our various partner firms, as well as from all the connections and people that we have here in the greater Phoenix area, to get into a room to hear the types of strategic connections that you need to make, whether that's to get early sales, to find advisors that you can leverage and bring onto your board, or any other types of networking needs that you might need, and be able to enhance that network that you have as much as possible. And we've proven that in the past has been extremely useful for our startups in getting the types of warm leads that they need to accelerate their growth. And then the last one is going to be a Pitch Perfect community pitch, which will take place in Phoenix on March 1st. And this is going to be the final hurdle to graduating from the program. And it will be the culmination of 3 months of Move the Needle and 3 months of pitch training. So that one is also required, of course. And it is important to note as well that the travel is going to be paid for by High Tide for 1 team member from each team to come out to those. More people are more than welcome to come, but that would be on each company's own dime. So now the part you guys have probably been wondering most about is around the hurdles. So we have a series of pass-fail points throughout the program that are extremely important. Each of these points will be very well articulated to those that are selected for the program at the kickoff on October 25th and 26th. You'll know exactly what you have to do to make it over each of these hurdles. It's also important to note that this is not you competing against the other companies. This is you competing against yourself and competing against a standard. If you can make it over the hurdle, then you'll make it over the hurdle. But if you're not, if your company is falling short, then you will be eliminated from the program. And we are designing this so that every company that is able and that is ready for funding will make it through this program. So let's review these quickly. The first one is going to be a venture blueprint hurdle, and this essentially is a participation hurdle from the highest level, showing that you've actively participated, that you're engaging with subject matter experts and with Tallwave, and that overall your team is engaged in making progress within the program. And that's going to happen approximately 1 month into the program. The second hurdle is going to happen at the end of December, which is a due diligence hurdle. So the information that we'll be gathering and putting together on market landscape, competitive analysis, the financials, the cap tables, all that stuff, is also serving as a due diligence hurdle. It's all investor-grade processes that we're putting through, and we have an independent committee that's going to be looking at each of these hurdles. It's made up of Tallwave and made up of subject matter experts and other advisors that are going to be helping to make these decisions. So the due diligence hurdle is really about capability to make it in the market, and that there's room for you to coexist with any other players that are in the space, and that you as a team can execute against that, and that there's a high enough, what's the word I'm looking for? That there's a financial benefit that's large enough to warrant an investment from a venture capital group or otherwise. So that's a due diligence hurdle. That happens at the end of December. The third hurdle is the move the needle progress, which is at the beginning of February. And the move the needle is really about just showing that you are indeed able to execute against your business and that you are showing progress along the way. And all of these will be very appropriate. Everyone is going to be agreeing to their own milestones along the way at the beginning of the move the needle process. So after 2 months, you need to have shown significant progress towards achieving those before the program is finished. And the final hurdle is the pitch perfect hurdle, which is the opportunity to come to Phoenix and actually pitch in front of a live audience and be able to show that you indeed can be very persuasive, that you can handle tough questions, and that you are capable of standing in front of the best investors in the world. So again, just to reemphasize, all of these hurdle requirements will be shared in great detail at the program kickoff. Finally, many of you likely have questions about the application process, so just to reemphasize, step one is to submit a completed application. That paper application is then going to be reviewed by TallWave, and it will be whittled down to the top 30 to actually receive a phone interview or perhaps a Skype interview. Please note that on the application, the paper application, it will actually be reviewed by 3 different people. It will be reviewed by 2 people from TallWave, including one of the executives, and it will also be reviewed by one of our subject matter experts. With that quantitative data that's pulled from that review, we'll select the top 30 for phone interviews, and then all that information will be aggregated, and a final selection will be made by TallWave and its partners down to the top 20 companies who are actually put into the program. So from the time that the application deadline occurs on September 30th, the decision for who these companies are will be made within approximately 2 weeks, and those companies will begin to be notified, and other more formal processes of getting into the program after that will begin with those companies that are selected. So we hope that this makes clear sense and that that you see the benefit in what we're trying to create here, so that you can prepare your company to be able to pitch in front of the very best investors in the world and increase your probability of funding in a short time frame. So with that, I think I'm going to turn the time back over to Dan Roberts, and we're going to look at some questions. Unless you have something else to cover, Dan.
No, I think the most important thing to add here is that, this is, while we do have some tremendous partners for this program, like Jesse said, including IBM Health and Mayo Clinic and Cancer Treatment Centers of America and Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're all looking to provide advice, but beyond that, TallWave is going to be extremely hands-on. The TallWave team working with the companies to build the go-to-market plans, to build the financial models, and essentially become extensions of their team throughout the course of the program. So an important point to note. So we've been receiving a couple questions coming in, so we'll just jump right into that. I guess the first one, kind of pulling from a couple questions, was what's the level of involvement from the partners and the subject matter experts, Jesse?
So we want them deeply involved. Obviously, they can't do all the work. They've got an awful lot going on, but we are integrating them very deeply into the program. Most notably, I would say that they are going to be involved enough that at every single one of those hurdles, they are the group that's making decisions of who continues through the program and who does not. And in order to do that, they really have to be able to know the companies well. So each of the subject matter experts is going to be assigned to a cohort of companies that they specialize in, and they're going to be able to get to know you on a very personal level. On top of that, we've also got a TallWave team that's going to be executing on all of these things and actually fulfilling the program. And the executives inside TallWave are going to be taking a very close look at interacting with how your financial models come out, what the competitive landscape is like, and helping to craft reasonable go-to-market strategies that can help take you to market. So they're all going to be very intimately involved and understand an awful lot about your business to help make decisions along the way, and also to advise you and to give you the type of professional insight you need to reduce your risk.
Another question that I've received here today, as well as several times in the past couple of weeks, was what stage of companies we're looking for, and I can go ahead and address that. But you'll notice before when Jesse gave the overview of the program, we're really looking to balance the cohort with a couple idea stage, several prototype of pre-revenue companies, and then companies that are already in market generating revenue. That one balances our risk profile, but also allows our partners to view a variety of different stages of companies in order to help move them along in the process. So next, the hurdles seem to be a critically important part of the program. Who is going to be doing the selection of which companies move forward beyond each hurdle?
Right. So I think we've mentioned it kind of in brief in a couple of different sections, but the selection committee is made up of a combination of people from the Tallwave Commercialization Fund, which is our venture capital fund, from Tallwave's Execution Services, our venture services group, as well as subject matter experts and other partners from the community here in Phoenix that are going to be helping make the decisions. It's going to be a very intimate group, and they're all going to have different responsibilities and be assigned to bring in different insights into assessing each company at all of these hurdles and knowing quantitatively and qualitatively what companies should and should not proceed and for what reasons. So it is a very high caliber group of people who know startups extremely well and who know the healthcare space extremely well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jesse. Now, I've run into this a couple times. What if healthcare is one of a variety of industries a company is looking to enter into? And I can give my perspective, and then Jesse, feel free. But if you're already pursuing another industry or another vertical, and that's your core focus, then the healthcare for healthcare IT may not be the right program for you. Now, if you're still in the very early stages and you think healthcare is one of the big markets that you want to go after, and that you plan to pursue, then High Tide could be a great avenue for you to pursue that industry. But if it's something that you're not extremely serious about, and it's not an area that if it's a thought of a market to go after, then we're really looking for the companies that are 100% committed to the healthcare market.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that there are, especially in the early stages, a lot of companies are assessing which industries to go into, and I mean, frankly, I wouldn't be afraid to apply if you're not sure which one you're hitting yet. It's still worth being able to come into the program and understand what it's going to be like. Ultimately, if you're selected for this and halfway through you decide that you want to go after the automotive industry or something else that's relevant for your technology, that's something that to be considered. And we'll take those on a case-by-case basis. But in your application, if, as Dan said, if you don't have a very strong commitment to the healthcare industry, it's likely that you won't even make it through that stage to begin with. So if it is something that you're tossing around, if I were you, I wouldn't make that too readily apparent, because honestly, we're going to catch that, and it will cause a lot of doubt in those that are reviewing your application.
Another question that just came through was, related to the last High Tide program and kind of how everything turned out, and also whether or not you can see which companies were selected into that program. And I can answer the latter part of that question, which is yes, you can definitely see which companies were selected into the program. In fact, if you go to the Tallwave High Tide website, www.tallwavehightide.com, you will notice a tab for previous High Tides or past High Tides, and you can see videos from each of the 6 finalists that were selected, as well as the additional 14 companies as a part of that 2020 team cohort. But Jesse, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, just a note on that. You'll see that there were 6 finalists in that last group that we did for the first High Tide. And just note that we're taking a very different approach in terms of how many companies can graduate. In the last one, there were 6. In this one, in theory, all 20 companies can make it through the entire program. So it is a pivot that we took in terms of how we organize things. But understand those 6 were very, very well qualified, and they're doing great things now. You can read more about their experience and watch the videos that are on the website that Dan mentioned. And in this one, we're very much looking forward to being able to include more companies through the course of the entire program.
Excellent. Well, we're just about out of time here, but I mean, one of the things that I kind of would leave as a closing statement is just the fact, this is a very exciting time in healthcare innovation. There's a lot of opportunities to progress the field of healthcare as a whole, and I think digital technologies are going to be really driving the momentum behind that. And in particular here in the state of Arizona and the city of Phoenix, fifth or sixth largest city in the country, healthcare is a very fast-growing sector within the local community here, with some of the major players like Mayo, like Blue Cross Blue Shield, that all want to see innovation, and they've looked to Tallwave with our commercialization engine that we've built as a source to help them find the next innovations of the next 10, 15 years to help them in their healthcare initiatives. So with that, Jesse, I don't know if you have anything else, but thank you, everyone.
No, it's been great. We really look forward to reviewing your applications and being able to help you guys get closer to getting that funding that you need to get out to market and to build your business. That's what we're all about.
Well, thank you. So this will be made available for everyone afterwards, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Thank you very much.